Then
You might,
you are screen sharing.
so it'll just need to be where you can, and I have our video turned off too. So we might turn our video on. Actually, I don't know if that matters.
No.
Yeah, we can leave our video off.
Do you know which screen you're sharing?
I should be sharing this one.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And you'll just like, need to bring up the, oh, he gave me a clicker. Where'd he put it? Oh, it's right here. Should be able to click through this.
Oh, I sent her a picture of your phone. I was like,
I need to go back to Canvas so we can turn our music.
so. Boom. Did it.
Hello, everyone. To the session. So if you were listening to the words of that song, you're like, how did this happen? Because it's on the front table. If you're not using AI, like you need to be. So AI wrote that song for us for the theme for our presentation. So yeah, recording in progress. AI write a song for it. And then I listened to it and it really spoke to a lot of things that our adult learners experience. So I thought it was really cool and funny. So welcome to our presentation. My name is Hannah Price, and I am the coordinator for Indiana Online Only. I also created the program back in 2016 from the ground up. And my co-presenter, her name is?
My name is Lee Henry. I'm now our student support coordinator for the program, but I started out as basically all of orientation, did a little bit of instructor, so I've kind of been all over the place with it.
Lee was my second employee that I was able to hire with IOO, so she was part of the original dream team. Our team has now expanded to, I think, 10. So we've grown a little bit along the way. So the bulk of our presentation today is going to be about her role and how we created her role, and then the metrics that we have seen and what has changed with our students in that. But I wanted to give a little bit of background on Indiana Online Only, so you just kind of know what we are, where we started, how we got to where we are now, and what we're seeing with our students through our program. So, oh, this is AI created our pictures too. We're really not Indy car drivers. You know, if you still want our autograph afterwards, we can pretend.
Everyone in Indiana is just Indy car driver.
Yeah, everyone's
Other
Indy
side.
car driver. Back road racers.
Yep.
All right, so this is just the agenda of kind of how the flow is going to go. I like to know what's happening and what's coming, so I thought you might also. So we're just going to our pre-race warm-up. If you have not gathered yet, Indiana loves a theme. Our conference, of course, is Indy 500 race, and anyone with any Indy 5 gear is from Indiana. We get behind a theme, and we really enjoy one. So our entire presentation is also going to be race themed, if you haven't picked up on that already. So I'm just going to introduce IOO, spend about the first 15 minutes getting you to where we are now, and then Lee will take over and kind of tell you about her role and her work with our students and what we're seeing happen. So that will be the main event, you know, the rest of our laps. And then our final lap into victory lane, we will take questions. But I am a presenter that if you have a question, please raise your hand and interrupt me now so you don't forget at the end, and talk about it in the moment when we're going. Hi, Victory. She's like, see, she thinks I'm a famous race car driver too. There's a picture. Okay, so under the hood and how IOO works, our platform is 100% online. Students never have to step foot in a classroom with us. We also are not a live teaching model. We do not do any live teaching. Everything is student-led, teacher-guided. So our students use an online curriculum, and we guide them through that process. So we use Aztec, shout out to Aztec, they're great. So we use Aztec for our curriculum, and they can access it anywhere at any time. We have a lot of structure built in to help them with success, and we will talk about that structure and how it has led to our success, and what we looked like when we didn't have structure. It was not successful. So we'll talk about that. And we are, like I said, we're flexible, guided, self-paced learning, and our teachers are our guides. So all of my teachers are part-time staff. So, and Lee also is a teacher. She came on as, last year we transitioned her role into a student support coach. and then funding got cut. And so I wasn't able to hire a new teacher, but I had lots of new students. So it's like, Lee, you're going to do some of this too. So that's kind of been the history of her job. She's been a catch-all and she's done everything. So she's great. All right, so this is just a timeline. Sorry for you way in the back of our bowling alley presentation room here. This tiny little timeline kind of walks us through the history of IOO, where we started. We started back in 2016-17 in Davies County, Indiana, a very rural county. And I started with 14 students that year. So, and we had 56% MSG that year, our first year. Wow. Then we moved up to the next year. There's a little yellow flag there. I'll tell you why. We moved up to 27 students that next year. And I presented at the IAACE conference. So that's like the Indiana our state association. And the state saw my presentation. They came and watched it. And they're like, hey, Hannah, we kind of think what you're doing in school. Will you do it for the whole state? And I said, sure, let's do that. So we did that. And we grew the next year to 49 students. We started with just the regions that were local to us. It started small and built up. Then 2020 happened. And all the classrooms closed. And you can see what happened to our numbers. We went from 80 to 226 in like a month. So, and you can see our MSGs plummeted. We were down to 47% that year. We got so many students so quickly, and we weren't doing well. We were really, I guess, focused on the numbers and not really on the quality of education that we were giving the students, because we had so many students coming in so quickly. So that following year, we have a blue flag there. And in racing, a blue flag is not like a stop. Well, I don't know if you actually stop. I really don't know that much about racing. So the blue flag, I think, means like, hey, maybe evaluate something. That's what we're saying it means. So we took a moment to evaluate what was going on. And you can see from 2021 to 21-22 program year, we jumped by another over 100 students. So again, we're getting so many students so fast, and our MSGs are still in the toilet. We're 49%, so not great. So we're like, we need to stop. We need to figure out what we're doing wrong, and we really need to focus on quality over quantity. So the next year, we had a program number drop, but our MSGs went from 49% to 69%. So we really slowed things down, put some things in place, and really built the structure that we have now with the structure of orientation. So now you get up to the green flag at 416 students and 66 MSGs, which we've been tracking along pretty well at this point. We put a green flag there because that's when we transition Lee into her student success coach role. So what we are noticing is our enrollment continues to grow every year. Our MSG stays, I have really bad allergies. Our MSG stayed stable, but we had this number of students that we weren't really paying attention to, and that was our students who exited without a gain. This year, I think Lee, in one of our slides that we will go over, we had 34% of our students exit without a gain. So we're like, how can we help these students? Why are they leaving us? So we talked about it. We did some brainstorming sessions with our teachers, and we really found out that we weren't focusing on the student as an adult and what goes on in their life outside of being a student. And we talked about how can we support them as an adult first and a student second. So that's where Lee's role really transitioned and switched. And if you can see this number here, it says 500, because last week we hit 500 students enrolled for this year. Wow. Yes. Thank you. She anticipates I need some help. Okay, so we have 500 students, and we're sitting at 68% MSG. So our students are doing great. We're trucking along, and we're going to tell you how we got there. So on the next slide, everyone get your phones out. Sorry to leave that to the back. I don't know if you're going to get this QR code, or we're going to try. On the next slide, there's a QR code. There's supposed to be a QR code. Where's she at? Oh, she's loading. When you scan this QR code, it's going to ask you to sign in. Just look below that and it says continue as a guest. Click on that. So the question posed to you is, how many student contacts did it take us to get to 500 enrolled students? So I just want you to throw a number in there and take a wild guess. 1,500.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not Val.
My phone's dead. I can't count.
1,500, that's a good guess, yeah. No doubt.
Thanks.
It does not give you an option to sign as a guest.
It doesn't. It says sign in with the count, sign up now. I forgot how to.
If you
We,
scroll farther down.
so we tested this on video.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, did you maybe already do it on another one? Okay, then just yell at me, guys, steal some answers out.
How many student contacts did you take?
How many student contacts did it take us to get to 500-year-old students? So we have a 1,500.
I'm gonna say 800.
800?
Going 2,000.
2,000?
That's your
1,750.
Is your 500 one contact hour more or 12 contact hours?
Well,
Oh,
these are enrolled students.
Oh.
These are enrolled students.
Make sure you see plenty of referrals.
Yeah, we get lots of referrals and student contacts. These are like when a student walks into your class and like, hey, you don't have an application, and you give them one, or they might inquire on their website and you never hear from them again. So how many student contacts did it take us to get to 500? So far, you guys are way low, way low. All right,
Yeah, I was just trying to say.
more,
Yeah, she said 2,000.
less. So it is
4,500. Oh. No kidding.
4,533. So it took us 4,500 students that we connected with to get to 500-year-old students. So you're probably like, why? I don't care. I'm going to take you through the numbers to kind of paint the picture of our orientation structure. So we're going to kill 2 birds, 1 stone, which I would never kill a bird. That's rude. All right, so from the point that they reach out to us and like, hey, I want to do your program, after that, we send them an email saying, hey, that's really cool. We want you to do our program too. And here's how you do that. You choose an orientation intake session. So if they sign up for an intake session, they made it to our green 2,266 students. So we lose 59% of our student contacts from the first step. So big drop there.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, answer your question.
Why? Like, if you have orientation and then you drop down to 59%, do you ask them why did it, like?
No, because that's a lot of emails.
Okay.
No. So a lot of times, so when you find our website, you can go in and it says send an inquiry form. So they give us their information. It asks, are you eligible? So we ask them eligibility questions. And then we send them information to pick a session. So now it's commitment, right? So the first one is just inquiry. Now they have to make a commitment. So I think we see that in in-person classes also. Students come in, they inquire, maybe they're having a really good day, feeling really motivated that day. But when it comes to actually do something, that spark is gone. So I think that's why we lose so many in that first step. Yeah.
You have an automated system that they send an inquiry, this email goes out.
I have a Gracie. Yes. So we
It
have,
used to be elite.
yeah, it used to be a Lee, but now it's a Gracie. Actually, when we replaced Lee's position, it took 3 people to replace what she did. So she did a lot for me. So we sent the inquiry form, it's a Google form, and then Gracie is one of my proctors. So part of her job is she goes in and she pulls from that form every email that inquired and she sends them the next step. So yes, I have Gracie. I probably could do an automated thing, but Google, when you do automated things, a lot of times Google flags you spam. So we try to avoid that. And that's one way, even though we send the same message over and over, we still get flagged as spam a lot though.
Our King college and our adult ed intake is similar, where it's like thousands and few hundreds convert. And what we did find by doing a lot of follow-up is that in that 60%, huge chunk were intending to apply for the college, but the application for the adult ed program was like more prioritized in a search. So it might be that there's a similar type of program where people are believing that your service is something that's like different, and when they go through the process, they're like, oh wait, that's not what I meant to sign up for.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. She was saying, if you can't hear in the back, that they could be filling out the inquiry form thinking it's something else, and then when they get to follow-up information, realizing it's not really what they thought they were signing up for. So I think sometimes we do get that, especially we also are linked with Vincent University.
Yeah.
So if they hear or see Vincent University, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, yeah. So we have had that come through as well. So I don't want to pour anyone in the back. So if you have a question back there, just like really wait at me because I didn't wear my glasses. So You're all beautiful little blurs out there. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe you're gonna answer this in a second, so if you are, I can wait, but, how long do you go? Before you count them as like not coming back?
Inactive.
Yeah,
Like, how long are they gonna be not receiving attendance hours before they're
yeah,
inactive?
before they get, counted to be inactive.
So at this point, so when we're at this point right here, they can, when they get, every single person at this point will get our first email saying sign up for a session. If we send that email today, they can still click on that same link a year from now and do that part, so they would get counted. But when they're actually an enrolled student, we have very set parameters in place, and we will talk about those, of when we kind of say, you've given up, you know, so like, or, we need to move on. And we'll talk about our approach with that, and that's really what this whole presentation about is our approach with that. So we will get to that.
Okay.
We will get to that. But during orientation, they do have a set structured time. So once they get into the intake session, if they don't meet the deadline dates, then it's an automatic out for them or an automatic try again. So, yes. Okay, so we're down 59%. Oh,
Do you track?
yes, we have we are partnered with another organization in Indiana, another adult ed program. And if they indicate that, we go ahead and send them right to that program. Yeah. I didn't separate that out, but I probably get a couple a month, because on our website, there's also the link, or there's also the form for ELL students. So sometimes they just fill out the wrong form, but it does take, we have that option on our website to go directly to that one. So since we've done that, we do have less that come to us, but there's still a few a month that we send over there. But I did not separate that from this number. Okay, so moving on to the next stage. After they join or choose an intake session, we send them an email that says, hey, your orientation starts on Tuesday morning. So of the people that we send an email to, 1,337 joined day one of orientation. So we lose another 41% at that point. And they have a deadline. So this is where that deadline really kicks in. If they do not join by a certain time and date, they can reapply for the next orientation session, but they're not going to get into the initial one they signed up for. Now, starting part 2 of orientation. Part 1 of orientation is just tape testing. It's getting your computer ready for tape testing, making sure you're an eligible student, and then, so that's all they do in part 1. If they finish that, they move on to part 2, which is gathering registration information, doing their adult run plan, ICE, everything that we're required to do.
So you do tape before you get there?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That keep them engaged because they've already done the hard part.
Yeah, we do the hard part first. Yep. Yeah.
Do you think by having a deadline and not like having a rolling admission, that it keeps it more structured and focused?
Oh, yes. So, yes, on our timeline that we had, where I had that first flag where we had so many students, we had a rolling orientation. You can join anytime. And Lee was monitoring it at that time. We might have a student in orientation for 3 months. So
Like
then,
a spreadsheet, and I would go through, sorry. Because we didn't have set orientations, we had a spreadsheet, and I would go through, and there would be people that were on there for, it would get up to like 6 months, just because it was hard to track where and what part of the process they were in. So the orientation, it makes it kind of a like open and shut door. You're in orientation, then you're on to the next step, or you're out, kind of thing. It just helps with the process. It also helps keeping them accountable.
Yeah, like buy-in.
Yeah, so that helps too, and it helps them with the process. We can give them a very specific timeline of what they're looking at to get enrolled, whereas before we didn't have a specific of a timeline, so it helps with that as well.
Just to kind of piggyback off that, something that we started in our program is we create cohorts for basically our orientation. So we take X amount of students for that cohort, and they'll get a date of a start date. And then if you're not in that cohort, then you get the next one. And we basically just take a certain number of students. And then based off that, that's kind of how we lead them out as well. Because if they're going to show up for their orientation day and then go from there. But we started that and we saw a significant increase in students actually completing the program instead of starting orientation and then leaving, or we call it ghosting.
Yeah, because I have like nobody left in my program, because they all ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we learned, one big thing that we noticed when we switched to a structured, remember I said that we wanted to do quality over quantity. So yes, we had fewer students making it through orientation, but we were keeping more students to enrollment when we did this. Because we set up our structure in orientation, and our attendance week runs from Thursday to Wednesday at midnight. Our orientation structure is the same thing. So they already know our structure and orientation. So when they get out of orientation into a classroom with an instructor, they already know, one, we're going to make you stick to a deadline. So many grandmas have died this year. So many. So while my heart goes out to all the grandmas, I'm sorry, but you can join the next orientation. So I don't know how Indiana has any grandmas left.
You can take the list of no-shows and outreach scheduled the following orientation.
No, because we're always on a wait list. So, kind of when we get onto the wait list point, we used to do outreach to try to get our enrollment numbers up, right? But we're always on a wait list now because our amount of instructors are based on funding.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that the students we have are ones that are giving it their full effort. So if it sounds kind of harsh, but you kind of lose your chance.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
the same thing where it was like when we have the funds available to do retention for those who missed recruitment opportunities.
Yeah.
Do, but when we don't, if we're on a wait list, it's like, go back to step one.
Yeah, you have to give your attention to who's there. We always say you have to be a participant in your own success. We want it for our students, right? We want it oftentimes more than our students. But the students we want to invest our time in are the ones that want it for themselves. So the 500 that we have enrolled want it for themselves, and we've built relationships with them, which when I finally stop talking and give Lee the chance to talk, she's going to tell you all about that. So, and how we do that. But a lot like what you're saying, we kind of made it like, what do we call it, gates? Like,
Gatekeeping.
Yeah, so like not gatekeeping, like we're not gonna tell you, but like we put in not barriers, but like we put in checkpoint spots to where if you're not successful through orientation, an online format is not going to be right for you. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to be a good student, just not maybe a good student for online learning. So, all right, so now we're down to 577 students. We are dwindling, we're getting down there. So we've lost 59% of them now, and they have started part 2 of orientation. They have done the hard part. They have sat for 3 hours and done an online proctor tape test. They've done all the hard stuff. Now they just have to give us their personal information, which is really easy. Yeah.
So how was it managing tape online testing for that student?
So we've got it figured out, and we do it really well. I have proctors, and we use it's actually a salon scheduling system because adult ed, grant funded, you choose what's cheap. So it's for like a salon, like to schedule hair appointments. And it's what we use to schedule tape appointments. So our services are tape testing, tape post testing, and we call them meet and greets where they meet their instructor.
So you do your OPTs that way?
Our OPTs.
Official practice.
Yes, we do. No, official practice tests are done through GED's website. Yeah. We buy the voucher from GED website.
What's the name of the product? To replace ours.
It's called Pick Time, and for 10 users, it's like $200 a year.
It's amazing.
It's
I used to
awesome.
do it by email. It's
Yeah.
just everything. And this is like so much simpler, and it gives you their contact information and you can go back and see, sorry. I do talk really loud, so I might not need this, but and then you can go back and see how many times they have scheduled too, because we had that problem too, where people are constantly canceling and rescheduling. So it's a data tracker essentially for all of that. It also gives them something that they have to do to schedule as well.
Can multiple users see the history
Yep.
of appointments?
Yep.
And does it translate?
Yeah, so if you go on and you select a student and you go to their profile, it will show how many times they have scheduled, if they were completed, if there are no shows, if they rescheduled. In addition to that, every single one has a Google Meet that we then use to do proctor our tests. So and then you can see on there who has been on their schedule, because all of the instructors do the meet and greets, and then we have our proctors too. So we each have our own little calendars in there.
Is there a chat feature within it? And does it translate conversations between multiple languages?
So you have their email contact. I think it can do different languages, like when the person signs in, they could select the language they want to use. But in terms of communicating, I think we can only do it through email.
Yeah.
From what I remember, I don't do much with it anymore, but
Can you say the name of it one more time?
Pick time, and it's purple. When you pull it up, it's purple. Pick time.
and you can access it on your phone too, which is nice.
So now.
And when y'all do the tapes, you do all 3 sections in one sitting?
Yes.
Or you book multiple times?
We do all in one sitting, and if they go beyond the 3 hour, they get a 3 hour block of time.
Yeah.
If they need more time than that, then our proctors will just say, hey, we're gonna reschedule for another session. And so our proctors usually have about 5 to 10 tests going at a time that they're proctoring. But you might be like 3 tests in one one sitting, that's a lot. But you know what? They take the language test last, we post tests in the language, and we usually get a game because now their brains are fresh. So let's sit there. So yeah, just give them test fatigue and then you'll get a game when they retest. So
Do you use the autolocator?
yes, yeah, we build the autolocator into that for sure. Yeah, so when Lee was saying when we did it before, Lee hand scheduled every single person via email and it was a lot. So we moved to a system way more efficient that way. So yeah, so we're down to 576 students.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, I was
start.
I don't even know why that happened.
there we go. Okay.
It was literally on mute.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know how it played, but okay.
It's just such a good song. They want to play again.
I just wanted to play again. All right, so now after they complete TAME test, they complete part 2 of orientation. We lose about 20% that after they've done the hard thing, they don't complete part 2 of orientation, and we don't know why, but they don't. So they don't complete it. So now we're down to 462 students. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, but you have 500 enrolled. It's because we rolled 128 students this year, so we brought some with us from last program year. So that's why we're at this number. Yeah. Then they do everything they have to do. And all they have to do is a 5-minute phone call with their instructor. And we lose 12% of our students. And we lost 20 some students to this part. Like, Hannah, your math's not mathing. I don't know. There's more. So now we're down to 400 students because we lost 12% who just never scheduled a meet and greet, the very last step that they have to do. And during this stage, our instructor meets with them. We review their tape tests with them. We talk about their goals. We make notes. This is our first contact of building that relationship with our students. So we're getting really close to Lee getting to talk. So we're building the relationship. We ask, if we learn anything about them that they share with us, we make a note in their online student profile so that their instructor has that information to continue to build on that relationship with them.
Just as a side note for your student profiles, what do you use?
So we're with the university. So we have a Gmail platform that our DU emails are related to. So it's a secure email. So we use Google Docs because it's secure. I would not recommend just using like a free version, like a personal one, because you're not gonna have that data protection level.
Yeah, we use the same thing. I was just curious if you had found something that works better, because we've been looking.
I looked in the ease of Google Docs and sharing and the cost of it free is amazing. So that's
And the live updating.
yes, and the live updating because we all work in an office.
Places.
Yeah.
All right, so we're down to 400 students. Now the next part. Oh, wait, go back. I told you how I get to the next number. We can stay here, it's fine. So 28 students of that 400 that made it through meet and greet did not meet their 12 hours during the first 2 weeks of enrollment. So we lose 28 students out of the 400, which I don't know what that percent is, but it's not that bad. So they get all the way through. We require, without exception, them to meet their first week of attendance and their second week of attendance, which is 9 hours, is what we ask, with a bare minimum of 6. And if they don't meet it, they're gone from the program, because that first 2 weeks is pivotal in creating that routine and setting them up for success.
Did you read that?
Yes. So during the first week that they're with their instructor, they have to meet a minimum of 9 hours of attendance, with the bare minimum being 6. So even if your 5th grandma dies that week, you still have to get 6 hours in. And then the next week, also 9 hours. So if grandma number 7 dies, you also have to have your 6 hours in that week. And we kind of found that by setting them up and holding them to that expectation in the first 2 weeks, we're setting them up one for the structure. We're helping them develop those habits where they're still excited on fire to dedicate this time and make it a priority. And we found if we don't do it in the first 2 weeks, they're not gonna do it in the 5th week.
And they don't count against your interest.
And they do not become enrolled students and they do not count against us. So we say, see you later before we have to beg them to stay.
Not take their orientation, testing hours in that 9.
Yeah, we don't, yeah. Because we're not really contacting them. Like, we're doing stuff with them, but we're not really in contact with them until we do class hours with that. Yep. Okay, so from the first number of 4,500 something, only 8% of those students will become an enrolled student with us. So when you're thinking about building a program and getting that enrollment number up, the initial student contact, you're going to see a lot of students fall off. Only 8% of your initial contacts will become an enrolled student for you. So if your goal is 8, you need to talk to 100 students. Easy math. Okay, moving on. All right, so this is Lee's part. So at the starting line, this is just a screenshot, a little snapshot of our initial timeline, and just kind of a reminder that we stopped and we're like, hey, what can we do with these students that we're losing? And how can we build relationships and really connect with them so we're not losing those students that are exiting without a gain? Lee, I told you I was gonna talk about here and I forget.
Oh, the quantity.
Oh, yeah.
Quality.
Yeah, the quantity over quality, kind of coming back to that. We really wanted to focus. We do a lot of brainstorming, and my instructors and my proctors were sharing some really like crazy stories about what they were witnessing with our students. One proctor shared with me, a student was taking their TAKE test and their husband was like, I don't know why you're doing this, you're done, you're not going to finish it anyway, because he was mad because he was having to watch the kids while she was taking the TAKE test. And it just broke my heart. I'm like, man, these people really need a cheerleader. Like, they need someone on their side that is rooting for them, that's telling them, yes, you can do this, and we're here behind you to support you. And so the conversation started like, they're not just students, they're adults with kids and jobs and real barriers that come up. And how can we support them as a whole person and build that relationship so they know they have someone who believes in them? Because we were realizing that some of our students, they don't have anyone believing in them. So we came along when we made the switch to Lee's position from a student or from a career coach to a student success coach. We didn't just create her position, we changed our entire program. And it became a team approach. So a student doesn't just have an instructor, they have an entire team behind them, and the entire team is reaching out to them and supporting them all the way through the process. Okay, so fueling the driver, we check in with the driver, it's kind of what I just said. It's a human first approach. We changed everything to growth mindset and person first language. So we don't, before we send an email like, hey, you only walked 6 hours this week, you need to have 9, make sure we work on that next week. Now we're, hey, how was your kid's birthday this weekend? It was a great weekend for a party outside. What did you do? What was your favorite thing? Was your kid excited about this that you got? Because they've already told us, their kid's name, how old they're turning, what their big gift was. So we're taking notes on all this stuff that we learned. So every single email communication we have with a student, we start with something personal. If we do not know anything personal yet, we share something. And if our teachers aren't comfortable sharing, it's like, hey, the weather was gorgeous this weekend. I got out and mowed my yard. What did you get to do? So we start with a conversation, because when we learn stuff about our students and we bring that back up in conversation, they're more likely to reply to us. Oh, by the way, all communication with our students is email only. It's the only way we communicate with them. So, and they respond and they use it. So we have no problem with that. So everyone likes to talk about themselves and have someone remember something about them. So every instructor, that's how we communicate with our students and build that relationship with them. Okay, Lee and I are gonna have to stand close together now. While we look alike, we are not related. We've already had people asking us, like, oh, are you my sister?
Yeah, that's exactly what.
We've been asked if we're twins before. I do in fact have a twin. Doesn't look like Annie. And I'm not even from Indiana. We met just by chance when I came down here. So one thing that we really try to do with my position, where I can be someone that's kind of the lead on it, just so it's not extra work for instructors too.
is to just help celebrate our students' progress. So a lot of times, especially when you're in an online platform and you're not seeing someone in person every day, you might think like they're not even tracking what I'm doing. They don't care that I, got a higher level on my post test or whatever. It's just numbers, right? So we try to highlight even the smallest things. So getting small wins, like if they took a practice test and they got a higher percentage by like 10%, we still celebrate that. And just reinforcing their growth. We also try to make it very clear what their goals are and what their timeline looks like. And while for each person that looks a little different, for the most part in our program, because of the nature of it, it's going to look somewhat similar. So we can give kind of a window of it. Right now, it's kind of a good time to use as an example because we're going into the next program year. So we've had to sit down and talk to students about, if you want to continue on to next year, we really need to see a post test, right? Or, I think you can get your GED done before July. Let's try to get that scheduled. Things like that, so that we're communicating with them, keeping it individualized, but also keeping it in a way where there are kind of set parameters for the students as well that they know we're aware of and they're aware of. This is another one of those log or the QR codes. So you can go ahead and scan the QR code and answer the question. Where is the question?
Oh, I zoomed in. It'll pop up on their app though. Okay. So, the question is, finish the sentence. So I think it is, this student hasn't logged hours in a week, and it's finished the sentence. So if you're not able to get into it, just yell out some stuff. Like, what's your first thing?
All right, say the question again.
This student hasn't logged in or logged any hours in over a week or 2 weeks. So what are your thoughts? Like what are they doing? You gotta talk loud. They're having a crisis, okay? What else? They need support. They have a barrier. I love all these answers.
They're binge watching.
They're binge watching. Yeah, so they're just blowing us off. Yeah, they're doing something different.
They might be feeling disconnected.
They feel disconnected.
Childcare.
Yeah, they don't have childcare, which sometimes with being online, childcare can affect it because you can't really concentrate. I have a 2-year-old and a 13-year-old. That was not a great life decision. I mean, yes, it was. I just love my children, but it's crazy.
I work with have several.
Yeah, several children. So
having them all home at the same time while you're trying to learn can be very difficult.
And then a new sports season always starting and new schedules changing. Yeah. So I love all your guys' answers because that's not where we were. Like, we would have meetings like, oh, Jenny hasn't logged in. She's ghosted us again. That's going to be a negative on my table 4. She's gone forever. And that's really how we approached it. Like, they're ghosting us. They're not going to log in. We're moving on. We'll send them emails. We'll beg them like, oh, please, because they're already enrolled now at this point. Please come back, everything under the sun. So you can come back and at least take a post test before they ghost us forever. But one thing that, here's some answers. Must have something going on, or they didn't do as well as they thought they would. Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, whenever they are so bummed, they're like, I knew I couldn't do this, So we really change that. So even when we go over their tape test scores of them, they don't know what those numbers mean. So we can spin it any way we want. Oh my gosh, you did so great. You tested on Form E. They don't know what that means, but you showed proficiency in all of your skills. That was awesome. You're ready for the next form already. That is so amazing. You're going to do great. So even taking those things, like, they don't know that they didn't do great, that they're going to have a lot of work to go. But so we get excited for everything. It's great. They've had a family emergency. Yes, that's a big one. Remember those gray balls. They're losing their internet. Another big one. So what we did was we tried to, instead of thinking negatively, which I'm so glad you guys didn't have any negative thoughts like, oh, they just don't want to do it anymore. Or something else come along. We really tried to change our shift and approach it like, what support do they need? Why do they go? Now that we have that relationship with us, we usually know the answer to that. And we don't have to ask them because we know what's coming because they tell us because we have good relationships with them now. And the next slide is not coming. Oh yeah, see, that's where we shifted gears. There was a really cool sound effect there, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work. So it was like, yeah. So we'll switch to, that was my car revving. So What is a growth mindset? So I just put this up here. I'm not gonna read it to you. We just we really wanted to switch gears and focus on a growth mindset. So even when we have to revoke a student, we don't say, sorry, apply again in 60 days. I mean, we do say that, but we say, this is a great opportunity to reflect on what didn't go well and how can we help you make a plan so when you reapply in 60 days, you are better prepared to be successful. What can we do for you to support you over these next 90 days so that when you come back ready with a plan. So everything is growth mindset. Yeah.
You mentioned reapply,
Mhm.
so they really have to communicate the entire process.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work.
Is it online?
Yeah. Yeah. So they know it's a lot of work. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything we
Yeah, we do 90 days because the tape test falls off and they can restart on the tape test. But if they start the process before that 90 days is up and that tape test comes back in before they fully exit, sometimes we get a gain of re-enrollment just by luck, so sometimes that works out really well. But they know how much work orientation was. And sometimes it's like, I don't know go through all that again. Well, then you better do what we're asking you to do, so you don't have to do that. It's your choice.
For us.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah.
Do you have any digital literacy caps or standards or?
So orientation works kind of like a stopping point for them with digital literacy. We send them all the information that they need. This is what you need to be able to do to take your tape test online. You have a grace period with our proctor. If after 15 minutes, if you cannot share your screen or get logged into the DRC website, we will have to cancel your appointment. You'll have to reschedule with support or whatever. If they can't do a Google Meet, they're not going to be successful in an online platform.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where our digital literacy skills, that's kind of our test.
Yeah.
If you cannot make it through a digital orientation, you're not going to be successful in an online classroom.
Referrals to other programs?
Yes.
Don't.
We offer that. So when we send them an email saying, maybe online learning is not the right fit, here are some programs in your area. Let us help you connect. Sometimes they're like, yes. Most of the time it's, no, I need it online because of this, and this. In person will work for me. So then we can send them resources. Well, here's a YouTube video that really teaches you about how to do Google Meets and, all of this. Figure this out and we'll come back and do it again. So, yeah. And we send all this to them in plenty of time, these resources ahead of time to set them up for success for their first tape test, but they don't always use the resources. So then when they realize, oh, maybe I should have used the resources when they re-enroll again, during orientation, we do not put a 90-day cap. If they do not complete orientation this time, they can sign up for orientation again next week. So, yeah. And if they made it through part 1 and took a tape test, they're taking a tape test again next week. Oh, sorry.
So where do your students come from? Are they all over Indiana?
All over Indiana. We serve 82 of the 92 counties in Indiana.
How'd that come about? How'd you get to do the whole study? Really curious. Was there any pushback from
Yes.
any other departments or anything?
Yes. So when the state come and saw my presentation at IAACE, they wrote a grant application. We applied for it and was awarded it. So we are the state provider of online education. Other programs can have their own. It doesn't mean they can't have and operate their own on their own model. But we do get funding specifically to serve the entire state. So we do all of our GED vouchers. It's funded through the state. We have funding that supplements the online program, but then VU as a whole also gets their own individual program funding that also supplements us because we're under VU's umbrella. Yeah.
Do you track data on the percentage? I know like the percentage of students that get through all of the things.
Like to GED graduation?
Yeah, versus the ones that drop off. Do you guys have the demographics?
Oh, like what age group or?
Yeah.
We have a report, our state data tracking system. We can pull a report that tells us all of that. I did not pull that data for this one, but a few years ago, I pulled the data and our age range of demographic is that, I think it's upper 20s to lower 40s, I think is the time. It really hits the 30-year-olds. That's the big chunk of our students. But we had a 72-year-old one time. That's awesome.
You don't have an in-person graduation?
We do. So we partner with other organizations throughout the state. That's part of Lee's job. We refer them if we know about their local graduation, but we invite them all to our Evansville graduation. And we had, who was our one student last year that drove from? Do you remember to the Evansville graduation?
like Muncie.
Muncie drove all the way down to
Like 3
Evansville.
or 4 hours.
Yeah.
So.
So giving the opportunity to celebrate them, like they want it, right? So it's awesome.
How do you track attendance hours?
Ooh, I'd love to tell you that. So Aztec, awesome. They make it super easy. You can pull an attendance report and we have a data person who enters it for us. So yeah.
Do you have any student to student interactions or?
In some classes. So we serve all NRS levels. We have one class called our fundamentals class, and it's NRS level 2 and under. So that class, that teacher keeps 50 students or less so that she has more time one-on-one with her students. And she requires every one of her students to do a live session with her before post testing. And she also holds weekly live lessons that they can join. And one thing that she said from those students that she really likes is they will talk with each other, they get each other's phone numbers, and then they kind of support each other through meeting through that classroom. So we've talked about in future program years, creating a Google Classroom for current students. We just don't have the capacity right now to manage that, to give them a platform to connect with one another and support one another.
I will say we have a Google Classroom and it's wonderful.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We just have to have the manpower to go in, remove students who are no longer on it. Because like the ones you get mad that get mad because you revoke them because they didn't follow the rules they said they'd follow. Then they get in there and they trash talk because they used to do that when we had the open enrollment orientation. They'd be like, this program's terrible, they don't care about you, and then we don't want that negativity at the very, while these students are trying to support each other. So we want to make sure that we have someone to go in and remove these students, which we are all strapped. We all work 28 hours or less a week. So I mean that's what we claim. We all work more than that, but that's what we claim. So it's a lot. So that's one of our dreams to do. So something for the future, definitely. Where's my clicker? There it goes. All right, so growth mindset, we talked a lot about this. You guys are really great about throwing out the positive things. So we shifted everything to growth mindset and looking at the positives. Shifting mindset, we talked about that. All right, it's Lee's turn.
Okay, so before I start kind of talking about my, excuse me, what my role is, I will say that since Hannah started the program, it's been a very much like, let's try something and see if it works and then shift if it doesn't work. So a lot of the things that we're saying that we're using are because we've tried about 6 other things before that. So just so you guys know, I know that every program's different, every state's different. So, like I said, I did orientation and I'm an instructor before this. In addition to that, I'm also an elementary school counselor, which has come in handy a lot with this position. So it's just kind of given me extra resources and also just a different mentality towards students than an instructor. So one thing that we really wanted to do was recognize students' needs when they need to be recognized, and kind of help with that to help with our students not only getting through our program, but also just gaining that knowledge and relationships through our program. So before we had the student support coach, the interactions varied by teacher. We went from having 2 instructors to 10 and then every number in between. So it just varied on how they interacted with them. We didn't talk very much as a team either at that point. So we didn't really know how we were talking to the students either. So it's inconsistent communication and requirements. And it also, the needs kind of just fell through the cracks. So instead of us knowing about what a need would be for a student, they would just leave the program, right? So now we're able to have the uniform information sent out to them. We have set requirements that they know of, objectives that they're aware of, they know we're aware of, so that we can hold them to it. Also, we have, excuse me, an ability through my position to address student needs proactively, to kind of give resources ahead of them needing them so that it doesn't interfere with their schoolwork. And then like we said earlier with the different things, just celebrating anything we can to kind of put that positive mindset into it so that we can make sure that they feel like they're seen, and that their needs are heard. And we also just like to celebrate things. We're just a celebrating kind of crew, so.
So I'm gonna brag on Lee here for a second, and then I'll take your question. Lee is an absolute rock star, and she will go above and beyond if a student says they need something. One example, I'm gonna give a more recent one. She, when the whole WIC and food stamp, or not just food stamp situation happened, yeah. Lee, I had a student reach out to me and said that, I've been going to food banks and trying to get food. I was like, oh, reach out to Lee. She can connect you with resources. She's like, no, Lee already reached out to me. And I have like 4 places that I'm going all over town that she set me up with today, and I'll be able to have groceries for my family. So she spent, I don't know how long you spent searching from, she lives up here, and this is down south. So not an area she was familiar with, and she did all the research, contact these communities. So that's what a student success coach role does for us. And without this role, our instructors, we want to help, but we don't have a whole afternoon to search out these resources. So she really goes above and beyond to make sure our students are taken care of as a person first. Because when you're worried about how you can feed your family, you don't care if you log 9 hours, so we want to address their basic needs whenever we can, so that then we can just take a little pit stop, right? And then get them back on track when their basic needs are met.
And I think some of that comes from my mentality as an elementary school counselor. So a lot of times me as a person, am the only resource that they think they have for things, whereas that's obviously not true, but I will guide them to the resources that are available for them. So with that mentality and going into that with adult education, I think that it kind of gives our program almost like a dual purpose. So yes, you're getting your GED, but also we're helping establish, a life for you where you're not, struggling for needs, and you have resources, and you're able to kind of put yourself first and put your education first instead of having to worry about things that we can help out with.
And your question, yeah.
It's 2 questions. One, how do you assign hours to part-time staff? Like, is there a ratio where you get paid 5 hours for 50 students, or as far as like the communication with students can easily go off the rails, and what was supposed to be 15 minutes can turn into 30, right? So like, how do you compensate instructors for, I guess, the proportion of students to instructor? And then the second question, do students in your program, because you're umbrella by a university, have access specifically to university resources like disability services, food pantries, tutoring, things of that nature?
So to address the university first, the university is our fiscal agent only. So students do not have any access to any of Vincent University's resources, unfortunately. As far as the teachers go, a 28-hour teacher handles about 100 students at a time. Every 1 teacher hour, we generate about 15 student learning hours.
Okay.
With the way our system's set up. So if I have a teacher who works less hours, like Lee works 20 hours, but she's also splitting her time between a career coach, so I'm going to assign her less students. So it's more about managing the student roster, and I constantly check in with my teachers, like, hey, how are you doing? Do you feel like you can handle more? Beth, she's one of my teachers up here at the front table. She's newer, so even though she works 20 hours, she would not have the same amount of students as my other 20-hour teacher, because it does take time to kind of, get the hang of things. Yeah.
Okay, so just to kind of give you an idea, like we've talked a lot about numbers and data, but just to kind of give you an idea of how this has helped. So in 23-24, which was the year before I started as the student support coach, 31% exited without a gain. So just dropped off. Obviously, those numbers hurt us, but additionally, we didn't have enough information to know why they were leaving. So then in 24-25, which is the year that I started this position, only 24% of the students exited without a gain, which doesn't seem like a huge difference, but when you're talking about 500 students, it's a pretty big difference. So, and even those students that exited without a gain, a lot of times we are able to give them, like an in-person classroom to go to, or something for them to continue their education beyond us. They just weren't a fit for our classroom, or they just weren't ready at that moment. So, yeah, that was helpful as well.
And I just pulled the numbers this morning, and so far for this year, so we have a full year of leaving in this role, we're down to 16% of our students exiting without a gain. So we've really built up that relationship with our students, and we're connecting with them, and they're reaching out to us when they hit a struggle instead of just ghosting us because they don't think we care about their struggle.
Okay, I think one really important thing from my perspective is that it's just not me. It's our whole staff. It's just, we are all focused on the same goal, which is student achievement, and not for our benefit, but for theirs. Obviously, we need the numbers to continue our program, but I think by putting them first and letting them know that they're first, the numbers just come with it. So, kind of my core duties that I do in our program is I do birthday encouragement and congratulation cards, just mailing them out. So a simple card. I mean, who gets cards in the mail anymore? Like, it's kind of a surprise if you got a birthday card in the mail. So we try to do something like that. When they do get their GED, they get a congratulations email from our entire staff. And everybody goes on and congratulates them through their own email, like in the email chain. So we do have the meet and greet to map into the adult learning plan. We also connect them to different benefits. This is kind of a post-graduation kind of end of the road type area where we're seeing that they're going to need some benefit or some resources after graduation. So we help them out with that. I send out a weekly email that gives some soft skill or study tip for them. So I've done like one I did recently was spring cleaning your workspace, just giving them ideas of how to make their study space better, things like that. We talk about a lot of employability skills. I offer some career counseling, and then also just some interview skills, things like that. So mock interviews and resume support, job searching, and then also, like Hannah was saying, the community resources. So I'm able to kind of think through the community mindset and see, you know, this person is needing, like they lost their internet, right? People, that happens, couldn't pay their bill for internet. So then I go into whatever community they're in and try to find resources and send those to try to set them up so that they can continue. And this kind of varies by time of year. So in the summer, like you guys were saying, kids are home, right? So things like making sure that they have food for their family because kids aren't getting lunch at school. Things like that. When we get around Christmas, I send out a bunch of Christmas assistance information to them so that they can make sure that their family has Christmas presents. And then just kind of monitoring things. So the SNAP benefits is the best example of that. That came out of the blue, right? All of a sudden SNAP benefits are gone. A ton of our students struggled with that. So I try to monitor those to make sure that we are giving them what they need to try to lessen that weight of those situations as much as possible. Yeah, and then just the bottom one. So I have students reach out for a lot of different things. Sometimes it's just study tips. They're just wondering, you know, I'm really struggling with this one part of, you know, a math curriculum, but I'm struggling with it because I don't understand like the visual of it or something like that. So then I try to map it out a different way for them. Just an extra resource that can be in addition to their instructor in that sense. Oh, sorry.
Lee also does a learning style inventory with students. She'll do that with them and then go over like, well, maybe this isn't working because this is not how you learn. So she'll go through explaining to students how you learn, and this is not how you're being taught. So we need to shift that, and then she can have that conversation with the instructor, like, hey, this student's not a visual learner, so maybe more worksheet, paper resources, things that they can read is going to be better than listening to this lesson via video. The rapid individualized resources there at the bottom. We had a student let us know, like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to continue. I don't have internet. I'm living in my car. I just left an abusive relationship. So then immediately connecting to Lee, hey, can we get her in a women's shelter? What are the resources? Let's reach out to her and really surround her and support her in this.
You know, use social media at all for your reinforced service?
No, we don't have time for that. No, we do not use any social media. Our biggest draw to our program is other program referrals, and then we don't have a marketing budget, right? So we can't put advertisements out there. But what we were able to do is the state put our web address on their website, and it says, you know, online adult education. So if someone does a Google search for it, we come up second because we're on the state's website. So piggyback off your state websites. Use their marketing strategies to get your stuff out there. Yes.
Have you thought about doing like a student Facebook group?
Again, like someone has to manage it, and we are so short. I was like, we have lots of like, yes, Yes, we've thought of it. And the support group and the postgraduates so they can connect and posting our success stories. Now, Vincent University has a page that's monitored, or that's managed and ran, and she'll put some stuff on there about IO. But we don't have our own individual one. We would love to, and these are all dreams if we get, more funding for more people, more hours. Yeah.
You go into students being ambassadors and running your social media for you, and
That's
then
genius.
having them, guiding them how to put that on their resume.
Lee, take notes.
For mock interviews, do you all use AI? Like,
We use Lee.
Yeah, it's, a lot of it's really informal, just kind of. A lot of it's really informal, just, I put on, so you'll see in a little bit, we have a website that I'll send to them when they graduate, and they're able to make an appointment with me to do like a, kind of like a meet and greet setup, but to go over those skills, to go over job search. I did job searches for, a student just last week where it was very specific the area and very specific what he was looking for. So because it's so individualized and because honestly, these students, when they're in the process from their perspective, they're the only student, right? They don't have a class they're part of. So we try to keep it as individualized as possible, which fortunately is one of my strengths. I struggle with groups, but I'm great with one person. So that's kind of more the mentality going into those sort of things.
We have 10 slides, so we're gonna fly. Whoa, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna start talking really fast, as if I don't already talk really fast. What, Holly? 10 minutes, yeah, we have 10 minutes. So we're gonna go through these really quick, and I'm gonna skip my slide because y'all really came here to hear from Lee anyway. So here she is.
Okay, so starting from the beginning, we try to be proactive for our students. I send out an email on the first day of class that just explains who I am and what kind of things I can provide for the students. I send it to all the new students, so they get that. All of our instructors are fantastic with early relationship building. The meet and greets help a lot with that too. We have very clear expectations and pathways because we haven't in the past, and it's made us run into some issues. So again, that was a growing point that we learned we need to have it set that they know what's expected of them. And then them knowing who to contact and how. So they know who their instructor is, they know who I am, and they can contact them. So in terms of the pacing, we made it a teamwork mentality towards it. So I help identify who needs encouragement versus redirection. So trying to be kind of a positive voice to them instead of a like disciplinary one. Instructors are absolutely monumental in this because they tell me which students I need to reach out to. So I don't necessarily do check-ins with every single student regularly, but the instructors will tell me, hey, this person's really struggling with yada, 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 and then I will reach out to them and kind of give them a different perspective or resources that I can help them with. So that just kind of shows how we work together. And then it keeps us going without us feeling like the pressure of it so that we can be more positive. So it doesn't become a negative that I have to reach out to these students or that the instructors, I keep pointing at Beth because she's not the instructor. The instructors, Beth, that the instructors have these students that are struggling with these hard things. They have somewhere to send the students that they're able to feel like they're getting them help. And then the student also feels like that they're getting that individual assistance as well.
Sorry, you have to hear from me again. So one thing that yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh my gosh, the teachers, the Lee. Yeah. Oh, so when we finally refer a student to Lee, because she sends us weekly contact emails and because she's been part of the process since day one, it's not this stranger reaching out like, hey, you have something really personal going on. Tell me all about it. No, it's like, hey, I'm reaching out, because you got stuff going on. I want to help you. Like, oh yeah, it's Lee. I know you. You email me all the time. We've talked before. You're not a stranger. I'm going to open up to you because we already have that personal relationship built. So that's key, is bringing your student success coach in at the beginning when they don't need her, so that when they do need her, the relationship is already established.
Okay, we run into a lot of yellow flags, and that's probably when I'm contacted the most to help out. So things like internet outages. Being in Indiana, we get those lovely tornadoes. I'm originally from Michigan, in a place where we didn't have tornadoes, so I'm not a big fan of them. But they come through quite a bit down, especially our central southern part of the state, and people won't have internet or power for a few weeks. So things like that, where they can communicate that with us, and then we're able to kind of give them a yellow flag where it's not you're suspended,
but it's all right, we're gonna give you the time to figure this out, and then we're gonna check back in and see how things are going and seeing if this is something for you to continue in. So our meet and greet information, we've talked about that a lot, making sure that we have all the documentation for anyone that's under 18. Illnesses come up a lot, especially when we first started out, when COVID was around. COVID happened a lot, so that is something that we kind of, you learn your students. So you learn a student that's like, hey, I have the flu and I've been sick for a week, but they've been getting 9 hours before that. Okay, yeah. But if you have a student that's sick every single week, one, maybe you should go to the doctor, but two, like, what's really going on kind of thing. So, and then, yeah, the patterns of excuses, so the grandmas. But housing or relocation is a big one too. We have a lot of students that this kind of seems like their step towards bettering their life, which then leads to them either leaving relationships or finding different housing or moving to somewhere that's closer with family. They're just different kind of big life things. So we try to help out with that as well. Okay. So the studies or the support emails, I send those out weekly, like I said. And then just making sure that I'm aware of current events that might affect their lives, either state or nationally. And then also just communicating those resources. So like around Christmas, the Christmas resources, summer food resources, things like that. All right, red flag would be when they need their 90-day pause. So like we said, we set those parameters for their attendance early on and very concretely where they know what's expected of them. So when we do get to this point, it's not a surprise to them. So,
I'll go really fast.
Okay. So yeah, they're not surprised when they get kicked out and see.
What one are we on now?
Okay.
I'm gonna post the slides up on the link later, so you guys will have all the slides, yeah.
So why this works is they find trust in our program. They find trust in multiple people. So not just their instructor, not just Hannah, our program director, but also they can find trust in me as well. They have different people to go to for different things. They share more and kind of give us more of a perspective on their life so that we can kind of assist them better in their learning. And then, so the need for the student success coach came because we're an online program. We don't interact with them face to face, but we want it to feel like a face to face interaction. So my position kind of helps with that. Then when they finally get to taking their GED, so when we get to that finish line, I send out the congratulation email. The graduate site that I created, I send them the link to that. We have success stories that we create for each of our students if they're willing to fill out the form. And then I also send out graduation cards, which includes our graduation information in Evansville.
This is the card that we created that we emailed to every single student. The instructor initiates it like, hey, and they brag on the student. Like, this student just took 3 GED tests last week. Like, this is so awesome. Or this student has been working with us for 2 years. So we send this little attachment, and then every single one of our instructors will respond with an encouraging response to them. So they really get like a whole team of cheerleaders saying, oh my gosh, you're amazing, you did it. And, really celebrate them with that. So that's really great. Yes.
I know you said that you have one class that's NRS 2 and below.
Mhm.
What is your average NRS level?
I'd say the bulk of our students are 3s. NRS 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bulk of our students are. We do have, we get those occasional 6s, 5s, like those junior students that barely even get 12 hours with us before they're ready to graduate. We just beg them, like, please do something. Like, we really are so excited. You're so smart. You don't need us, but please hang out with us.
So for the students, I know the focus of the presentation is the support services,
Mhm.
right? Where is the teacher's role? Like, how many hours a week is the teacher interfacing with the student? Particularly because they're using app-based learning.
Mhm.
Like, where's the teacher's role versus the success?
Yeah, so the teacher's role in all of this is through the Aztec platform, they can get in and look at every lesson that the student has done. So they're checking every single one of their students, and they might see that, Sarah has passed this lesson, like flying colors, great, she's ready to move on. But she's retaken this lesson 3 times and gotten a 30%, a 50%. So the teacher sees that they're struggling. Now she's going to reach out and say, hey, Sarah, I really see you're struggling with this lesson. What part of it did you find difficult? Where can I support you? Can I send you an additional resource? Do you want to meet one-on-one? Our teachers offer one-on-one tutoring for our students when they need it. Surprisingly, our students don't usually take it up except our NRS level 2 class. Our students, they're on the online program and they like the format because they don't want to see us. So they'll email us if they don't want to see us. Yeah.
Do you do any evening or weekend, like tape testing or orientation? I might have missed that part.
Yeah, so we have an evening proctor, that's our Gracie. She's our evening proctor. She starts proctoring at 7 until 10 p.m. at night, or maybe 6 until 10, and she is our most popular proctor. And she is a college student, so hire college students if you need that evening weekend person. She does great. She does that for us, and occasionally she'll throw a weekend in because she needs to take a day through the week off, and she'll proctor Saturday or Sunday for us. They're maybe once a month, once every couple months, but they fill up super fast. We've never tried to hire just a weekend proctor, funding. So that evening one though, I ran a report and she works the least amount of hours of all my proctors and had like 3 times as many tests that she's proctored. So she's very popular.
Like, so, and that's like up to 10 students each.
Yeah, so the way we structure it on Pick Time, we have it to where a new test starts every 15 minutes. So the teacher is starting a new test, moving that one over, starting a new test, and then she has them all on the screen where she can watch them. And if they have a question, she pops on, answers their question, unmutes them, and communicates with them. So, and they're recorded. Yeah, we record all of them. We cannot do breakout rooms because Google doesn't allow you to record in a breakout room, so they're individual Google Meet windows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about all of the details at any time. You guys can reach out to me. I'm not going to gatekeep our program or our platform or anything because I want to help students. So if any questions, please reach out to me on this.
Okay, and then so also talking about when they get to the finish line, so making sure that the support stays consistent and creates positive outcomes. So really helping with their persistence for themselves, but also us as staff trying to keep them going. We've had fewer students exiting without a gain. We've had a lot stronger of student engagement. I'd say this year in particular, we've had a lot of students reach out and kind of tell us more about their process through the program and what helped them and what didn't, which is really helpful for us. The resources that they get have been very helpful. And then, like we said, they do success stories. I do ask for those, but we've had a couple of students reach out and just want to tell us without me asking for it yet. So that's been helpful. In terms of post-graduation, I give them information about how to, or the instructors do, about how to get their diploma. I offer career counseling if it's needed, any secondary school resources. We have the graduation invitations and then our website. Am I able to click that and go on
Maybe from there.
Okay.
Or you guys can click on it within the slides when we get them. She created this and it's really amazing and it has everything that students need on it.
I'll pull it up at the end.
Yeah.
When we're done, so you guys can see it.
It's our slide that has our contact information.
And is y'all's graduation on the university campus?
No, it's usually at a church. Our Evansville team works really hard to partner with the community. We usually have a political figure that speaks, whether it's the mayor or whoever, and a church hosts us for that. So yeah.
Do you ever invite secondary institutions to your graduations?
Do we, Miss Mary?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
TNA, we invite all of them who have achieved their certification as well.
Yeah, Vic Mary is one of our. Well, she doesn't work for IOO, but I wish she did. She's great.
She's our sub U though, when you're not there.
Yeah, she is. She's great. So here's our contact information on this slide. Feel free to reach out. I will be here, for the rest of the conference. I'm happy to sit down and talk to anyone that is here. I'm happy to do Google Zooms Google Zooms. I'm happy to do a Google Meet or a Zoom with any of you to go over our program in detail and really talk about it specific to what you have in mind or what your program needs. Like Lee said, we've done a lot of things wrong to get to where we are now to see the success that we've had. I mean, we've been in the dumps, like 47% MSGs, and we consistently are in the high 60s and 70s. So we have figured a lot of things out. I'm not saying our way is the only way, but we found a good way that works for us and our students, and I'm happy to share any of that with you guys.
And all of y'all students sign G Suite emails or they use their personal?
They use their own. Yeah, they use their own email. Yeah, they just come with whatever they have. And like I said, phones, you need an email to set up a phone, right? So students have emails. They may never look at it, but we train them in the beginning. Like, you're going to get an email from us. Check it. Check your spam. So we train them from the beginning to always be checking your email. So by the time they get to an instructor, they know this is their main source of communication with us. And really, it prepares them for the workforce. Because if you're going to get a professional job, you have to be able to communicate professionally via email. And that is one standard we hold our students to, is professional email communication.
And in the beginning, when they're booking appointment-based or real-time stuff, they get text message confirmation reminders of those appointments.
They get an email confirmation reminder. Yeah, the pick time has the ability to send a text reminder. It's a paid version. You get so many free with your, and then you can pay for it. But we don't want them to rely on. We want them to rely on email. We train them to always go to their email. Yeah, we train them for that. So and it works. It works. So many times we're like low tech sometimes is the best tech. Like we're not using other messaging apps. We're not doing anything but email. One source of communication. We never talk to them on the phone ever. No phone. We do not have a phone number. Iowa does not have a phone number.
No texting.
No.
But the teachers do meet them on Zoom. Or
On Zoom. Yeah, we will meet them on Google Meet face to face when needed, and that's how we communicate face to face or verbally. Everything else is email.
Meet and greet. Yeah,
Mhm.
every student does meet.
Yeah, every student does a meet and greet at the beginning of the program before they ever start their first day of attendance. Expectations are told to them again. They already learned it in orientation, but we repeat it. We get to see them first time face to face. They get to see us. They open up and share. We kind of do some adult learner planning at that point. Put their goals down. We track it all on our shared document, so that way when they go to their instructor, they already have a little bit of background on them.
And y'all meets are like business hours or?
They're all over the place. Yeah, so 8 a.m. They what's your latest one?
My latest one is 4:45. I have my other job, I work till 4 and then I do 4 to 5 o'clock. So.
And if a student's like, I just can't do any of these, we will schedule one outside of it for them if they reach out to us. But they have to initiate that because they have to advocate for themselves. Like we're trying to teach that too. Like we tell them if something doesn't work for you, let us know. We're not gonna reach out and hey, somebody never scheduled a meeting for you. Can we schedule one for you? Like, no, you have to advocate for yourself. Yes.
So online can easily feel very detached. But I will say with our group and all the different places that we live, I personally have had one parent go all the way through, one of the parents of my elementary school kids go all the way through the program. Didn't know I was working program because she wasn't my student, but I knew she was in it. And she was able to graduate with GED and I got to celebrate that with her, which was awesome. I have another parent that's currently in it. A couple other that I've done meet and greets with that they knew me when they saw me, they knew my name. So, and then Hannah actually has one that lives down the street from her parents that got her GED. But we don't find this stuff out until we get to know them either. It's not like we referred them to the program. They come into the program and then we find those personal connections between our instructors and the students. Or even just having personal connection with my dad grew up in Mishawaka, up at the top of the state. If I have a student that's from Mishawaka, I'm like, oh, that's where my dad grew up. So just having connections like that we're able to build those relationships with them.
So thank you all for staying over. I know you're waiting for more jokes. That's why you hung around. I don't have any more though. So like I said, we are more than welcome. Reach out to us, reach out through the app. All day tomorrow. I did not intentionally schedule anything for myself tomorrow, just in case anyone wants to sit down and talk. Lee has to go back to work tomorrow to her elementary kids, but I will be around. But if you want to meet with Lee, she's happy to set up stuff with you too. Come summer, she's gonna be way more available than she is now. But yeah, we're happy. Yep, she works at school all day. So thank you all so much. And I hope you walk away with something that's useful. And if you have more questions, please come to us. We're happy to help. Thank you.